Welcome back. Last time, we ended the episode extremely worried about Rika-chan and if she might be the next target of the curse. Or, just next target in general, before Keiichi and Shion. So, I think this one picks up directly after the last episode ended. After hanging up on Shion, I searched for Rika-chan's phone number on my school contact list. There it is. My fingers trembled with urgency, and I failed multiple times to put in the simple 5-digit number. Keiichi? Keiichi, are you calling someone at this hour? It's late, and it's being rude to the other person. That doesn't matter right now. I shouted angrily at my mother, listening to the dial tone. Pick up, come on, pick up. The time was 11 p.m. It certainly wasn't early. It was essentially the middle of the night. Had Rika-chan already gone to bed? Her phone would be ringing constantly, though, so she would get back up for me? So would she get back up for me? Rika-chan didn't pick up. She didn't pick up. She didn't pick up! Maybe she just happened to miss it. Maybe her bed was just too far away from the phone. The sound of the phone ringing gets clearer and clearer the longer you go on sleeping. Then, the bathroom? Yeah, she must be taking a bath. If that was the case, then even if she heard the phone, she wouldn't be able to pick it up. It was a little late to be taking a bath, but it was possibly she normally took baths right before going to bed. I'll wait 30 minutes and try calling again. Even as I was thinking that, I called her house over and over again. I kept calling. Over and over, again and again. I kept on calling her, but she didn't pick up even once. I kept trying for about 30 minutes, yet she wasn't picking up. Were my phone calls so persistent that she had gotten scared of picking up the receiver? No, that couldn't possibly be it. There was no point in doing this any longer. The best thing to do would be to go there in person. Where was Rika-chan's house, though? Shit, I've never even asked her where she lived. Her residence was written there in the contact list, but it was an address with mostly numbers, so I couldn't tell where it was just by reading it. Isn't there a map or something in here? Rika Frude. Her last name was Frude. It is a bit of an odd last name, so it might be easy to find. Thinking of that, I rummaged around the drawer in the phone book, but could only find things like timeout menus and phone numbers for public establishments. Shit. I tore one thing after another out of the drawer, but I couldn't come up with any clues as to where Rika-chan's house was. Calm down, Keiichi Mabara. If you don't know, then just ask. Ask someone who does know. Ah, that's it. Rena's gotta know. As I looked up Rena's phone number on the contact list, Rena, Ryugu, there she was. Hello? This is Ryugu. Oh, wait.
Hello? This is Ryugu.
It was the voice of a grumpy-sounding man. It must have been Rena's father. I'm calling in the middle of the night. I need to be polite. I'm sorry for calling so late at night. This is Mahabara. Is there any chance Rena-san is around?
Rena is taking a bath. Oh, wait. No, she's done. Rena? There's a friend of yours on the phone.
Oh, Rena. Oh, so her actual name is Rena, but, friend shortened it to Rena. That's interesting.
Rena, there's a friend of yours on the phone.
Oh, right. Rena Ryugu was her real name, wasn't it? I had gotten so used to calling her Rena that hearing her real name caught me a little off guard. Hello? This is Rena. It's me, Keiichi. Sorry for calling so late. Huh? Keiichi-kun? What do you need at a time like this? Well, actually, I wanted to know where Rika-chan's house is. Rena seemed a little appalled that I'd call her for something like that this hour. However, she spoke her next words seriously, as if she'd caught on to how urgent my need was. Okay. Sure. You know the assembly hall on the grounds of the Furude Shrine? There's a 2-story shack used for storage behind it. That's where she lives. I couldn't immediately visualize the place, but as long as I knew she lived on the shrine grounds, I'd just have to take a look around. Got it. Thanks. Sorry again for calling so late. I apologize to your dad for me too, would you? Okay, but Keiichi-kun, why do you want to know where Rika-chan lives? Rena asked in an unusually sharp way, halting me before I could hang up the phone. I hesitated for a moment about whether to tell her. He was killed because I told him. Keiichi-kun? If you're still listening, could you answer me? Why are you asking where Rika-chan lives at a time like this? Rena affected her usual tone, but beneath her words lay a certain tension, like she'd intuitively sensed something was going on. What will you do, Keiichi? If it's Rena, can't I tell her? He was killed because he found out. I revealed everything, so he was killed. Keiichi-kun! Rena is being serious! Please answer me! Rena asked me once again in a tone so forceful I couldn't imagine her ever using it normally. I was taken aback by her vigor. Rena was Rika-chan's friend, too. She had the right to be concerned about Rika-chan disappearing. If I told Rena, then, even for only a moment, I could drive away my horrifying fears. Rena, well, I can't exactly explain to you why, but... Yes? Rena's tone was seriousness itself. Just from that tone, I could feel her saying, no matter what you say, Keiichi-kun, I'll believe you. That subtle sense of security gave me the courage to reveal the truth. I have a feeling that Rika-chan is in danger. You mean like a premonition? Or do you have some reason to believe she's in danger? I didn't really have time to go back and forth with Rena about this. Still, I think listening to her calm voice soothed my pointless impatience. I don't have much reason, but... Yet I still hesitated. I had told Rika-chan that we had snuck into the ritual storehouse. The mayor, to whom Shion had confessed before that, had already disappeared. So it was possible that Rika-chan also... I didn't know how to explain it to Rena. While I was tongue-tied, Rena spoke up. Sorry for asking something so weird. I thought about it, and it isn't like you need to be sure. Rena laughed a little, seeming a bit absent-minded. I wasn't exactly in the mood to laugh, so this time I was dumbfounded. Rena continued in a cheerful yet still purposeful voice. You're worried about a friend. I don't think you need a reason to go and check on them. Even if Rika-chan was asleep and you ended up waking her up, if that was why you did it, then none of us would get mad. Rena, thank you. Okay then, Keiichi-kun, just one thing. You called Rika-chan's house, right? Then you couldn't get through? Wait. Then you just couldn't get through, so that's why you asked me where her house is? Yeah, that's right. I must have called her for over 10 minutes. A half hour, but whatever. She could just be sleeping and not have noticed. Rika-chan's house is really small. She would definitely hear the phone ringing even if she was asleep. Satoko-chan is there too, so there's no way neither of them would notice. Huh? Satoko? You mean she's living with Rika-chan? Yeah! You didn't know? Well, we can talk about that later. Anyway, if you called that much and no one answered, there's something definitely wrong. Rena understood that the situation wasn't normal far faster than I could have ever imagined her to. It made her seem dependable. However, the fact that Rena had acknowledged this also meant that the best case possibility of it all was just being the result of my own needless fears went out the window. I'll go to Rika-chan's house right now. Will you come with me? I can show you the way. Wait, no, is that Rena talking? No, that was me talking. Sounds good. Let's meet up at the same place as usual. I'll be waiting for you. No, wait. I'll come and get you at your house. You just wait there. And tell your family you're coming with me to Rika-chan's house, okay? Will that be okay? We might lose time if you come here. Did you call me? Oh, damn it. That was... Oh, man. Urgh! The order is hard. Will that be okay? We might lose time if you come here. Did you call Mi-chan too? She's really dependable at times like these. If you haven't, then I'll give her a call. My thoughts froze for a moment. Shion had just told me to be careful around Mion during our phone conversation a little while ago. If the Sonozaki main house was somehow lurking behind the surface of the annual freak deaths, then the current heir of the family, Mion, wouldn't be uninvolved. So, wouldn't that mean she wasn't uninvolved in what happened this year, too, to Takano-san and Toмотaki-san, and also the mayor's disappearance? Okay, bye! I'll be right over. Wait for me! That's all that Rena said before hurriedly hanging up. Now wasn't the time to be doubting Mion. I needed to make sure Rika-chan was safe. I got changed and grabbed the key to my bike. I figured things would go more smoothly if we met up in a place we usually do before school. Rena wouldn't need to come all the way to my house. My parents would probably have objected if I told them I was leaving, so I crept out without a word. The night was unusually warm and disagreeably humid. She said that Rika-chan and Satoko lived together, right? Then it wasn't only Rika-chan. Satoko wasn't there either? Realizing what them living together really meant caused my thoughts to immediately take a turn for the worse. That can't be. Satoko is... She's got nothing to do with any of this. Even if there was a reason for Rika-chan to disappear, there shouldn't be one for Satoko. Keiichi-kun! Rena was really fast. She approached me on her bike at an amazing speed. Her breath was ragged, painting a clear picture of just how hurriedly she'd been going. Hey, Rena, let's get going. Keiichi-kun, I thought I told you to wait at your house. Rena's expression was all business. Was she mad? It came out of the blue, and I was faltered for a moment. Well, I just figured it'd be faster to meet up here. Keiichi-kun, don't you get it? Rena shouted, clearly angry. I've never seen Rena like this before. Do I get it? What's the problem? Rena seemed to notice that she was scaring me, took a couple of deep breaths, then continued as if admonishing me, but her expression didn't soften at all. Keiichi-kun, the whole village is in an uproar right now that the elder disappeared, right? Yeah? Now you're telling me that Rika-chan and Satoko-chan aren't where they're supposed to be, right? Yeah. That about sums it up. Then you need to be more careful! Do you have any idea how dangerous it is to be standing out here alone in the middle of the night? I began to understand where Rena's anger was coming from. You told your family you'd be going to Rika-chan's house with me, didn't you? So, that, in the worst-case scenario, if you and I were to disappear, people would know when and where we did. Rena was perfectly level-headed in this emergency situation. Ever since that night of the Watanagashi, every night someone had died or disappeared. On the night itself, Takano-san and Toмотaki-san met strange ends. On the next night, the elder vanished. Now, on the next night after that, Rika-chan and Satoko were nowhere to be found. I hadn't been thinking of anyone but myself, but it wasn't enough to say that Hamnazawa was a little weird at the moment. It was, in fact, extremely strange. Rena had even anticipated our own disappearances and told me... Right, that was Rena talking. Okay, Rena told me to tell my family. Tell Keiichi. Keiichi's family. Alright. Reverse it, and then replay those scenes in your head, but with the right voices. And it told me to tell my family where I was going. I was embarrassed at my own carelessness, and the need to be embarrassed made me afraid of the night. Sorry, I didn't tell them yet.
Okay, then let's go tell them together.
With Rena beside me, I wheeled back towards my house. That was a neat transition. The moon seemed strangely high in the sky, a sky that was uselessly vast and cold. So, no matter what, it could never seem to me like a dream. It never seemed to me like a dream. This cruel fact had already confronted me. On such a crazy night, Rena had been unimaginably dependable. Haminazawa's metamorphosis, enough to make Rena caution me against carelessness, was, to me, the most fearsome thing of all. The moon seemed strangely high in the sky. We met up with Mion on the way, and she, of course, was unsure whether to believe me about Rika-chan and Satsuko's disappearance.
Kei-chan, are you serious? I'm going to get really mad if this is a joke.
Mion was clearly displeased. If this were a joke, it wasn't very funny. I understand how indiscreet my words were. Ever since the day before yesterday, someone had either died or vanished every night. Rika-chan and Satsuko disappearing after all that was just something you just couldn't say, even in jest.
Mi-chan, if it really is a joke, don't get mad, smile. It would be a joke, after all. We need to go make sure whether it's a joke or not.
You're right. Sorry for getting upset. However indiscreet a joke it may have been, if we learned that our friends were safe, it would end up as nothing more than a funny story. Having been warned about that by Rena, Mion gave a dry smile, the tension she felt loosening a bit. She mounted her bicycle as well. Our 3 bicycles' lights flashed down the pitch-black roads. They were some of the only illumination outside.
Kei-chan, why did you suddenly decide to call and ask about Rika-chan's house at a time like this?
Mion asked me the same thing that I had trouble explaining to Rena. Would it be weird to call it a premonition? I couldn't quite tell because it was dark, but I thought I could see Mion smiling very ambiguously. I definitely understood that she wasn't convinced, though, despite the darkness. Well, I had this dream while I was snoozing, and I couldn't get it out of my head.
So, did Rika-chan get kidnapped in the dream?
Well, it was more of a vague feeling sort of thing. If Rika-chan had answered the phone, I would have called you and Rena after that. Lies smoothly dabbled out of my mouth, makeshift though they were. I was lying because I thought telling them I was connected to Shion would be silently admitting we'd stolen into the ritual storehouse together that night. Mion didn't press me any further. I don't know whether that convinced her. Or maybe she figured that making sure Rika-chan and Satsuko were safe would be faster than making an issue out of it. I felt relieved and immediately a little guilty. Mion hadn't really been acting any differently these past few days, but I'm still trying to distance myself from her for some reason. It was only because of what I heard from Shion and Iwashi-san that she was the successor to some kind of super extravagant gang family. No. Was I just trying to force myself to forget? Don't do that, Keiichi Mabara. Wasn't it Mion who was the first to ask about the night of Watanagashi? In such a harsh tone at that? Have I already forgotten the terror I felt? At the time, Mion looked like someone completely different from the Mion I knew. When I think about that Mion, then Shion and Iwashi-san's descriptions of Mion made a tiny bit more sense. That's it, isn't it? If it wasn't for how she acted that day, then I wouldn't be feeling this way towards her now. What on earth was going on with her back then? I was conveniently thinking of everything she had done after that, while disregarding the very first thing, the thing I should have been looking at the most, wasn't I? Mion was pedaling her bicycle in front of me, her hair fluttering in the wind. No matter how long I look at her back, it never gave me any answers to my questions. We went all the way to the stone steps leading up to the shrine grounds. Of course, we weren't going to want to haul our bikes up there, so we parked them beside the staircase instead. So this is the Furude Shrine.
Everybody comes and goes as they please, as if it were a park, but this place is actually a grand estate owned by the Furude family.
So the entire shrine is private property. It really makes you feel the passage of time. 10 or 20 years ago, it would have looked exactly the same. Ow. I don't know what's going on, but my nose is being like, be all itchy and annoying, so it bugs the shit out of me when I'm trying to talk. Okay, going to try and ignore my nose. This is Keiichi talking. Then wouldn't that mean that the Furude family is really old, with history going back for generations?
Yeah, they're gone. That's odd.
Rena said something clearly disquieting, so I ran over to her. What's wrong, Rena?
Rika-chan and Satoko-chan always leave their bicycles here. See? They're gone.
I took a look around. Indeed, there were no other bicycles aside from the ones we'd taken to get here.
Couldn't they have parked them somewhere else?
Could they have brought them up the stairs? What? Whoa, what the hell is this? Wait, what the fuck was that? The fuck was that? It was just an arrow! Okay. Just as she said, I couldn't imagine Rika-chan and Satoko lugging their bikes all the way up here. We hadn't yet knocked on Rika-chan's door, but reality was already sparking some ideas that weren't what you'd call good. Maybe they were just parked under some trees that we hadn't noticed them. I refused to believe that not being able to find their bikes here was proof they disappeared. Let's go. The only way to be sure is to check their house. We all nodded and dashed up the stone steps. We passed through the red arch and came onto the shrine grounds, which was covered in neat gravel. It was so quiet here, as though the Watanagashi festival had never happened. So where's the house they live in?
Over there! Come with me!
Rena took the lead and sprinted off. We went towards the assembly hall behind the shrine, then looped around behind it. In the darkness of the night, we found a small prefab two-story shack that looked like a warehouse.
The lights are off. And are they sleeping? Let's knock!
Rena and Mion neared the shack, which didn't really look like a place people would live. They had such a beautiful shrine, so I'd figured they'd live in an equally beautiful house. It was far from what I had expected.
Rika-chan! Satoko-chan! Are you there?
Rena shouted up towards the second floor. Her voice was restrained at first, but steadily grew louder. No answer. In fact, there wasn't any sort of activity in the house at all.
They might be sleeping. Let's wake them up.
Mion banged on the shutter with both hands, and the loud sounds echoed into our surroundings. They would have to notice this much noise. They would turn on the lights in their room, fling open the windows, and yell, "What time do you think it is?" That, however, wasn't happening. There was absolutely no response. Mion stopped slamming her fist into the shutter, and a sudden silence fell over us. The silence aroused terrible thoughts in us. I could feel the blood draining from my face.
It's locked. I wonder if we can get into somehow.
Rena showed no signs of stopping. It didn't look like she would admit that they weren't there until we went inside and saw for ourselves. The refusal to give in gave me strength. The second-story windows wouldn't be locked. I'll give them a try.
Kei-chan, a ladder.
Mion brought over a ladder so that was standing against the house. The footing was a little unstable for me to be climbing it, but Mion held the ladder firmly in place for me. I hadn't climbed too many ladders. My inexperience with them exposed, I climbed up one step at a time and tried to open each window on the second floor.
Mii-chan, I'm going to go check the main house just to be sure, okay? I'll be right back.
Rena darted away. What? A main house? It's the Furude family's actual house. After her parents passed away, I think it's been left like that. Ah, right. Rika-chan's parents. They passed away, huh? At that point, I recalled something else. Wasn't Satoko living there too? Satoko's also an orphan. Her parents fell from a cliff because of Oshiro-sama's curse. Then, her older brother, Satoshi-kun, he disappeared. Satoshi, I've heard that name before. I remembered. He was the one who disappeared last year because of the curse. Ever since then, Satoko and Rika-chan have been living in this shack. Neither of them has any family, but at least they're together. They help each other out. Rena said main house, didn't she? Wouldn't it be easier to live there? The curtains were drawn so I couldn't get a good look inside to see, but two young girls living together seemed like a pretty tough life. I think she tried that at first. She said it was hard, though, because it reminded her of her parents. I had no idea. I feel really bad for them. They were normally so cheerful at school that I never even realized an atom of this. Rika-chan and Sadako-chan, they have it hard, huh? She's cursed. Huh? Suddenly, Mion said something in such a low voice that it sounded like she really was cursing someone, and I didn't let it slide. I turned around on the ladder to face her and asked again, Mion, what did you just say? I said she's cursed. Mion, still holding onto the ladder, brought her head up and look at me in the eyes. As soon as our eyes met, an absolute zero jolt of electricity surged through my body. Mion's eyes clouded over, and within them boiled and bubbled a stew of chaos. They whirled around and around like a raging sea, and bubbles floated to the surface. I had, at some point, been trapped on this ladder, like being cornered in a dead-end street. Mion, why are you making that face? I intended to follow up with, you're going too far with this joke, and give her a forced smile. However, on such uneven footing as I was, the only thing that came out of my mouth was a hoarse groan as I desperately struggled to not let nausea overwhelm me. Satoko Hujo. She's been cursed by Oshiro-sama. Mion answers with a response to something I never asked, as if replying to someone else's question. The only people who fell from the park observation platform were her parents. Only her parents, who treated her like dirt, died that day. She was the only one to survive. Then, she was sent to live with her aunt, who treated her cruelly, and the aunt was killed on the night of Watanagashi by some deviant, who beat her to death so violently her brains were everywhere, and her head in an entirely different shape by the end of it. Then, Satoshi-kun, who always protected her, he suddenly disappeared on her birthday. Someone made him disappear, even though he wasn't abusing her. The police judged him to have run away from home, but Satoshi-kun wasn't the kind of person who would do that. He was always earnest. He would never ask for someone else's help. He would always drag himself through everything with hard work alone. He worked so hard he nearly ground his bones into dust, all for his one and only little sister, and yet someone made him disappear. She was the only thing he lived for, and yet someone made him disappear. Poor Satoshi-kun. He was never rewarded, that Satoshi-kun. how ungrateful that child is. She is cursed. All who get near her suffer the same fate. The curse kills them, or the curse makes them disappear. She cannot have any relief. She cannot have any relief. It's probably Satoko's fault that Rika-chan has disappeared too. It has to be, it has to be, it has to be, it has to be, it has to, 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 it has to.
Mion was mumbling words over and over that were no longer coherent. Her shoulders were trembling so hard that I couldn't feel it. I could feel it through the ladder. I almost lost my footing, which made me realize just how far away the ground really was. Calm down, Mion. I don't know what you're talking about. I wasn't sure if she had even heard me. Mion rocked back and forth, and the rocking and the trembling was becoming even more violent. Help me. The ladder, it's falling. Help me. Help! Just then I heard the sound of many people running towards us. Oh, I guess that's me. Oh, hey! Over here! I very nearly said help me outright. 4 or 5 adults led by Rena ran over here with flashlights.
Keiichi-kun, Mi-chan, sorry it took so long. I borrowed the key.
Oh, nice one. Seems all the windows and doors are just perfectly sealed. I was getting worried.
When I heard Mion talking like nothing had just happened, I again felt a chill run through me. The person currently holding the ladder in place, it was definitely Mion. It was the real Mion Sonozaki. Then, the person muttering to themselves just a few seconds ago, who was that? The person who was mumbling about terrible things like curses, who was that? I jumped down from the ladder as if running away before Mion turned into that person who wasn't Mion a second time. The adults tried a few different keys on the keyring as they tried to open the big shutter on the first floor.
Rika-chan's house used to be a disaster shelter for the town council, so the key to the shutter is still kept on in the mayor's house.
It's Rika-chan and Satoko's private residence now, though. Well, this is on Rika-chan's property anyway. Nobody complains about it.
Mion gave me a smile as she said that. I, however, could only return her gaze with an aghast expression. Mion was acting all too normal now, but only contrasted all the more sharply with her earlier un-Mion-like creepiness. Bang, bam, clatter, clatter, bang. The shutter opened for the first time in a very long while. Rena located the light switch and wasted no time going inside. I followed her in.
Rika-chan! Sadako-chan! If you're here, say something!
We climbed a narrow staircase. It had looked like nothing more than a warehouse, but now that I was inside, I could feel how lived in it was. It was a person's home. Somehow, the scent of the two of them filled the place. This was definitely where Rika-chan and Satoko lived. The first floor doubled as a town assembly warehouse, but the second floor was a space entirely for living. Just like a one-room apartment past the kitchen was a living room taking up 150 square feet. Dressers, cupboards, and the like were packed into the space, and in the corner was a huge pile of clothes that appeared to have just been taken in from drying outside. In the center of the living room was a fold-up table, and on it were small containers for things like soy sauce and salad dressing. The sense of a frugal lifestyle drifted from it all. It was strange that they were here in the middle of the night like this. They weren't here. The adults, climbing the stairs one at a time, began to make a fuss and talk amongst themselves.
So, not here.
Yeah, they're not here. This is definitely weird.
The village had just been thrown into chaos yesterday because of the mayor's disappearance. Then today, even Rika-chan and Satoko had. Were they out playing somewhere together? That can't be. Their bicycles...
Their bicycles aren't here, though.
Where would they have gone so late at night?
Have they just not come back yet? Where did they go?
Well, I said those as Keiichi, Mion, and Rika, but those were just adults. The adults put forth various possibilities, and the house immediately devolved into a state of confusion. Eventually, Mion settled them down.
I don't want to believe it, but the mayor, Keiichi, disappeared yesterday. We can't say that this is unrelated.
The adults' faces paled at Mion's declaration. Mine and Rena's did as well.
Let's see. They could have gone nearby for some tea or something, then accidentally fallen asleep. Whoever invited them might just not be able to wake them up at all, too. Let's eliminate that possibility first. Makino-san, please go around to the houses near the stream. Kitaro-san, go look near Uwaji Lake. Okamaro-san, you...
Mion promptly gave directions to the villagers. The adults followed them without hesitation despite her age.
We will remain here and call up anyone we think of on the phone. Okay, everyone, you have your orders.
Got it! The adults all roared in reply and pounded back down the stairs below.
Wow, Mi-chan! You're not only chairperson of the school, but Hamanazawa too?
No time for jokes. Hey, step aside. This old man is using the phone.
Mion grinned proudly, took the receiver, and got started. Rena gave Mion a trusting look, considering her dependable for doing all this. My feelings, though, were a little more complicated, since her leadership seems to be affirming the Sonozaki family successor impression that Shion and Iwashi-san had given me. Stop right there, Keiichi Mabara. None of that matters right now. The most important thing is to make sure Rika-chan and Satoko are safe. Let's see. Couldn't there be a clue hinting that where they might have gone somewhere in this room? Still, though, I wouldn't know what to look for anyway. If we tore the whole place apart and figured out what was different from before, we might be able to speculate, but there was nothing strange about this room, and there was no clues in sight. In the first place, I had never been here before. There was no way for me to know what was different if I didn't know how the room usually looked. Hey, don't give up, Keiichi Mabara! Stop thinking and start looking. For something. In search of something, I tried pulling open the dresser drawers and open the windows. I didn't uncover anything meaningful, though. Rena, also unable to stand around doing nothing, was looking around the room like I was. Rena, I don't think you'll find Rika-chan by opening the refrigerator or the cabinet underneath the sink.
I just thought they might be hiding.
As we were searching, it got noisy outside. Villagers were quickly assembling here, having heard the commotion. Of course, a lot of them were probably people Mion had called.
I'll go tell everyone what's going on. The police will be here sooner or later, too. We'll need to explain the situation to Iwashi.
Mion began descending the stairs, and we followed her out to the front of the house. There were already around 10 adults there, and all of them looked uneasy. I suddenly noticed that the old people from the shrine were here as well, and they were praying for Rika-chan's safety, rubbing their prayer beads. This had gotten bad. This wasn't just a problem between friends anymore.
Mion-chan, is it true that Rika-chan and Satoko-chan aren't anywhere to be found?
The villagers all formed a ring around Mion, swarming her. Mion had raised her right hand as if silently telling them to calm down.
First, let's check every house according to the town's council notification division and see if they're visiting anyone. After all, they could be fast asleep at someone's house and totally unaware that we're looking for them.
It would definitely be hard for someone to wake up Rika-chan if she had eaten a good, full meal and fallen asleep like a kitten afterwards. Oh, how nice it would be if that were the case.
I don't want to think about this, but it's also possible something bad has happened.
Mion's face grew remarkably more grim, and a wave of silence washed over the adults.
We should divide up the work, too. We'll go around to all the places we went last night while looking for the mayor.
I guess these are the adults talking. We'll go around the damn construction site as best we can. You guys go search around the school.
Right.
Let's get a move on.
Come on, let's go. All of you were up all night looking for the mayor. I know you're all low on sleep, but please, do your best.
Got it! With that as their signal, the adults scattered in every direction. I figured I should scatter somewhere as well, so I started walking unsteadily in a direction no one else had gone in. I was getting farther and farther from people. I didn't feel scared or anything, though. If someone were made to disappear, Shiona and I should be first. It would have been perfectly normal for me to be scared of the dark. However, I didn't feel that way. Why was that? It was because tonight, someone had already disappeared, so nobody else would disappear tonight. It would take some time before I, exhausted as I was, would feel the guilt at the curse of my own selfish sense of relief. Suddenly, my vision cleared, and a cold wind caressed my body. This was the hill from which you could see the whole village. Looking down from this hill, I could see lights on here and there, and knew that the entire village had awoken from its slumber. First Takano-san and Tomitake-san, then the mayor, and now even Rika-chan and Satoko had been sacrificed. Word of it was spreading everywhere. The strength in my knees left me. This could no longer be a joke. We could have found them. Mion would have told me I was a worrywart. Rena would have just be glad we did. And they would have smiled at me. My hopes disappeared as if I were awakening from a dream. That was what the view I could see was telling me. Falling, I'm gonna say that was falling to my knees, my arms both bent forward onto the ground, and I clawed at it with my nails. I couldn't figure out if I was feeling sorrow or frustration. Is this my fault? I couldn't endure the burden of my own sin, and I had just told Rika-chan about it. They had nothing to do with it, but Rika-chan and even Satoko had been sacrificed. It was like a cross that Shion and I would each have to bear the weight of until we ourselves were erased. Well, if I'm going that far, then the problem started long before that. My original sin of breaking taboo and entering the ritual storehouse without asking. I knew I shouldn't have gone in there from the start. Yet I lost out to cheap curiosity. I hadn't felt so angry at myself until this very moment. There was a crunching sound. I wasn't even interested in who made the noise, despondent as I was.
Keiichi-kun! Keiichi-kun! Are you okay?
It was Rena. Perhaps my clawing at the ground made it look as though I was having stomach pains. She ran over and rubbed my back like she was trying to make me feel better. This is all my fault. It's because of me. It's all my fault.
Keiichi-kun's fault? You didn't do anything wrong. Please don't blame yourself for this.
I could tell Rena was doing her best to choose the right words out of consideration for me. That's why I could sense her intent behind those words.
Keiichi-kun, you know why Rika-chan and Satoko-chan disappeared, don't you?
Is what she really meant to say. Because it was an emergency, Rena had ignored the reason I wanted to make sure Rika-chan was safe, but now that we'd actually confirmed her disappearance, it was only natural Rena would start to wonder about why. However, whoopsie-daisy. However, with the situation having gone this far, I couldn't possibly tell her now. I didn't want to admit that Rika-chan and Satsuko had disappeared, but I couldn't let Rena disappear either.
Keiichi-kun, if you stay out here in the wind, you'll catch a cold.
Rena sat down, bringing her eyes level with mine.
They told us that the children should go back home to sleep.
Rena showed me her watch as she said that. It was long past 1 in the morning. Time was passing too quickly. Had I been crawling around out here for that long?
If we don't sleep soon, we'll have trouble getting up for school tomorrow. Even the adults are really worn out since they were up searching for the mayor last night, too. They were saying they'd break it up a little earlier tonight. I was a little upset that they weren't allotting as much time to this as they had searching for the mayor last night, but that was something I, the cause of everything, had no right to criticize them for. It's all right. The police arrived a little while ago. Look, there's the police cars coming into the village right now.
Hearing that remark, I looked down to the village to see there were indeed more cars than one would normally expect at this hour coming from the darkness on the other side of the mountain. However, none of them had their emergency lights on. Of course, their sirens weren't wailing either. That's right. All of the incidents that occurred right after Watanagashi were seen as a product of Oshiro-sama's curse and would be handled in secrecy. Rika-chan and Satsuko, too. Their disappearance would end up exactly like the other serial incidents in the past. Surreptitious, unresolved, declared as a mystery, and to disappear from memory. Rika-chan's face, her sweet face like a Western doll, would fade away. Satsuko's smile, her energetic, fanged smile, would fade away. The more I tried to remember them, the less I would be able to. I deserved to be called an idiot dozens of times over, and it wouldn't be enough. I couldn't hold back the tears at my own sheer stupidity.
I don't know what you're blaming yourself for, Keiichi-kun, but you should stop.
I wasn't about to deny it. I couldn't. Even so, I couldn't affirm it either. I wanted to at least keep Rena out of this. If she found out, she would become involved. Please, Rena, could you just leave me alone? Even if I went home, I wouldn't be able to sleep. If I couldn't get to sleep, then at least I wanted to search for Rika-chan and Satsuko until I collapsed. The entire village was looking, and yet they still hadn't been found. I don't think I'd be able to find them if I went looking alone at this point. Still, I had to do it. They disappeared because of me. I couldn't possibly go to sleep while the other people are out there searching. I had said it to myself in self-deprecation, but I soon realized that Rena was silently trying to find the meaning in my mumblings. I realized I had misspoke.
It's Keiichi-kun's fault. Why do you think that? Why?
That can't be. Keiichi-kun, you're not at fault. I was happy that Rena said these things to me, but she only did so because she didn't know the truth. If she knew that everything had been caused by my breaking taboo on the night of Watanagashi, then even Rena would curse my existence. However, I can't even allow for those curses. That would mean confessing my own crimes to Rena. If I spilled even one word of having snuck into the ritual storehouse on the night of Watanagashi, then even Rena would disappear tomorrow night. The gentle, spirited, always joking, always yowing. At a time like this, the most dependable person in the world, Rena, might disappear. I don't want that. Anything but that. This time, I need to bear my own cross, alone.
Keiichi-kun, I know you're always... Oh, jeez. I know that you always have your friends in your heart. I can really understand feeling like you want to kick yourself. Rena knows. Though, it's not Keiichi-kun's fault. You didn't do anything wrong, Keiichi-kun, and I know that.
You know that? The shivering in my veins rushed back up my back and replaced the sorrow in my heart with fear. I didn't tell her anything, did I? Maybe I accidentally said something that caused Rena to figure it out? This is bad. Now Rena would disappear. Rena will disappear. Rena will disappear! Then Rena, the same way that I always did, grabbed my head and began to pet it roughly.
Keiichi-kun, are you thinking that Rena might disappear now too? Because of Oshiro-sama's curse?
She put more force into the hand rubbing my head.
You don't need to worry about that. Rena isn't going anywhere. I promise.
Why? How can you say that with such confidence? I mean, someone's been sacrificed every night so far. There was no proof that it wouldn't happen again tomorrow night. There was even less proof, after all, that the sacrifice wouldn't be Rena. I don't care who you are. Just please, if you're going to erase someone, erase me first. Please stop so cruelly getting rid of people who are close to, like the mayor for Shion and Rika-chan and Satoko for me. Shion's hysterical shouting came back into my mind. They must be planning to kill us last of all. They're not killing the first people who came into mind. They start by killing those we're close to. Then after they've caused us so much pain, they kill us. That must be what they're doing. Rena, please don't disappear. Please don't. As long as I'm still here. I could no longer conceal the sobs welling up within me.
Come on, Keiichi-kun, crying doesn't suit you. Let's get back to the others. The housewives are cooking up some miso soup for us. It'll warm you up and calm you down.
Rena prompted me to stand. I didn't have the energy to oppose her, so I stood as she urged to me. We returned to the shrine grounds to find several gas stoves there with miso soup in big pots. The many villagers there sipped at the soup they were given in dead, stony silence. Their expressions were absolutely exhausted. Everyone had just been running around the village until a little while ago. From the dreary looks on their faces, though, I assumed they hadn't come up with anything yet.
Kei-chan, where did you go? I was worried you disappeared too.
Sorry. Mion held out some miso soup for me, but I refused the offer. I didn't have much of an appetite.
Mii-chan, how is it? Did you find any clues?
Mion took a sip of her soup, her expression frank.
Not at all. School ended and they went home. Then, the two of them went somewhere on their bicycles. Moreover, nobody ever saw them riding their bikes, so...
When it gets dark out in Hamanazawa, people quickly vanish from the streets. Aside from adults hurrying back home from town in cars or on bicycles, it was normal to see absolutely nobody walking around outside. It wasn't all that strange that nobody had seen Rika-chan and Satsuko riding their bikes.
It was the same last night with the mayor. There's no hope.
Mion's apathetic tone pricked my nerves, but that anger quickly subsided. She had just been doing all sorts of things to try and find Rika-chan until just a second ago. If I asked her, she'd probably say that she was up all night last night too, looking for the mayor, wouldn't she? She must have been far more fatigued than I was. Besides, what about me? I had spent the time hunched over in indecision all alone. I had no right to say anything about Mion.
Kei-chan, I know it's hard, but let's turn in for the night. We just decided that we should break up the search for now. Drink this and let's call it quits.
Is this the end?
Oh no, of course not. Once it's bright out again, we'll do a thorough search with the police's help. They could have gone to Okinomiya, too. People are even saying we should go through all of Shishibone City investigating whether there are any witnesses for both the girls and the mayor. Anyway, what happened, Kei-chan? Where did you go off to? You vanished all of a sudden, and I was really worried.
Suddenly, I was on the receiving end, but I didn't have the willpower to respond. Sorry. I'll be more careful.
Nothing happened.
There wasn't anyone suspicious spying on or stalking you, nothing like that. Mion demanded with a serious expression. I was being criticized for how inconsiderate I had been. Despite being in so much pain, I was frustrated that I was being criticized, but it was my sin. My sin. And I must bear it alone. Nothing. I'll be careful. Either way. Sorry. Mion, now aware that nothing had happened, heaved a big sigh with her shoulders looking relieved.
Oh my, my, my. I knew I smelled something good coming from over here. I'll be much obliged if you'd allow me to have some.
We heard a repulsive voice of a fat man. It was Awashi-san, trailed by a handful of police officers. He was acting energetically in a way unfitting the situation. There's not much left, but you can have some if you want. Mion didn't like Awashi-san very much. Her cold attitude, though, didn't seem to bother Awashi-san in the slightest. It was like splashing water in a frog's face.
Well now, miso soup leftovers have a bit too much salt for my taste. Confound it. Would you like any?
He recommended it to his subordinates, but everyone gave dry smiles and refused.
So have the police gotten a hold of any clues?
Rena's smile was warm enough to replace the miso soup.
Don't you worry, little missy. Everything's fine. We're searching for them real good.
He didn't say a word about having found any new clues. In other words, there had been no progress. That sure was an annoying way of beating around the bush. Sentence structure.
In any case, it really has gotten late. All you youngsters should head on home and get some sleep. I'll be bad for your health otherwise.
Yeah. Keiichi, Rena, get some rest. These guys get our tax money. They'll handle it from here for us.
We're taxpayers too, you know. It's like we're drinking our own piss.
I really wasn't in the mood for laughter. In fact, Awashi-san was the only one laughing like an idiot.
Okay, seriously, please do your best. Let's go home, Keiichi-kun. It'll be harder to wake up tomorrow if we don't.
Yeah, that's right. I can always bring you home if you need. Wait.
Yeah, that's right. I can always bring you home if you need. Kuma-chan, why don't you bring the car around?
No thanks. We came on our bicycles, so...
No need to worry. We came in the truck. We'll just throw the bikes in the back.
We may have gotten pretty sleepy, but we just needed to ride home at this point. I didn't want to bother the police like that. Rena, however, nodded.
Okay, if you insist, we appreciate it. It's probably safer than if we went back home alone.
When I thought about it carefully, I realized that Rena's idea was extremely rational.
Well, now it's decided. Let's get a move on, shall we?
Okay, bye. Good night, Rena, Keiichi.
Yeah, Mi-chan, you go to bed too soon, okay? You go to bed soon too, okay? Wow. Good night.
I waved my hands as well, saying goodbye. Rika-chan and Satoko still hadn't been found. My unease, however, was steadily being pushed away by sleepiness. Rena showed the police where our bicycles were so that Awashi-san could haul them up into their truck. He prompted us to get into the back seat. I could hear the springs squeaking as I sat down into the seat that would normally hurt my rear end, but at this point it was very soft and there was more than comfortable enough for me to fall asleep on. Ladies first.
Ladies first. We'll start with the little Mrs. house. Where do you live? Thank you. My house is, well...
Rena's voice slowly grew distant. I felt myself being sucked into the void of sleep.
Hello? Mahabara-san! Are you asleep back there?
Huh? When I came to, it was quiet. The car was parked. Iwashi-san was giving me light slaps on the cheek. It didn't feel good at all, so I woke up immediately. I'm sorry, I just fell asleep. Something was being held right under my nose. A clump of metal? It was a can of coffee.
It's lukewarm by now, but cafe au latte is good even at room temperature.
Oh, thanks. I mechanically took the can and opened the pull top. The feeling of the warm, sweet liquid going down my throat awakened my sleepy mind. When my drowsiness receded, I started wanting to know why the car was stopped and why I was offered coffee. Iwashi-san, who had been in the driver's seat, had, at some point, moved to the back. Suddenly, I had a very bad feeling about this. It reminded me of the questioning yesterday at the library. It was already too late by the time I realized I'd made a mistake. Today, of all days, it didn't look like I'd be getting away. I had a feeling that until Iwashi-san heard what he wanted to, he wouldn't be letting me go.
Nah, please don't get all formal on me. I'm not going to eat you or anything. Mahabara-san.
Iwashi-san gulped down the last of his coffee, then stretched wide, showing me how relaxed he was. That, however, only served to heighten my nervousness. What do you need from me?
Need? Oh, no, nothing really.
You're going to evade the question at this point. What a deeply unreadable man.
Well, I don't need you for anything. I just thought that you might need something from me, Mahabara-san.
I don't need anything.
Oh, I see. Really? Are you sure there's nothing?
There was only one side door in the back seat of this truck. In other words, my only exit was blocked off by Iwashi-san. I couldn't get away. I could only limply hang my head and maintain my silence. Iwashi-san, despite my reticence, relaxed and began smoking a cigarette. The cries of the insects outside seemed to be growing longer and longer to the amount of time that almost seemed infinite.
Here, I was sure that you'd have something you wanted to talk to me about.
Iwashi-san exhaled a puff of smoke. The windows were open, but the tobacco smoke was accumulated inside the vehicle. How much did Iwashi-san know? What did he know, and what did he want to hear from me? If finding out the truth made you disappear, then if I told him, would Iwashi-san disappear too? I had a feeling that I didn't need to worry about that in his case.
I wonder how all of this ended up happening.
Iwashi-san addressed me in a low tone as if he were talking to himself. How all of this ended up happening? How the hell should I know? That was what I wanted to know.
You know, Jiro Tamataki-san and Mio Takano-san, right? I know you do, because I personally witnessed you two walking with them during the festival, along with Shio and Sonozaki-san. Do you know how Tamataki-san and Takano-san are doing now? They've actually, well, passed away. They met a very untimely deaths.
Iwashi-san probably played that card in order to surprise me. However, I already knew, and I didn't display the extreme reaction he expected.
What is this? Did you already know?
Unfortunately for this question in particular, remaining silent was equivalent to saying yes.
Ah, so then, did you also know that the reason Tamataki-san and Takano-san were cursed like that? People are saying that apparently they went into some forbidden building.
The storehouse for ritual implements. That forbidden shed sealing away Hamunazawa's blood-stained past. Where the mistake that started it all had happened.
Do you know about the rumors? They say that the mayor and Rika Furude-san were cursed because of that too.
That would mean it was mine and Shion's fault. He was right. As soon as we revealed that, we did.
What'd they call it? A ritual storehouse. They're saying it was bad luck. The lock to it had been replaced by a simpler one, which made it easier for thieves to get inside.
What? This was news to me.
Until last year, it apparently had these big bars and a huge padlock on it. I mean, you know, ever since the priest and his wife passed away, Rika-san has been managing the place, right? Apparently, she talked to the mayor saying she wanted them to replace it with a lighter, more simpler padlock because the bars were too heavy for her.
I didn't know anything about those big bars he was talking about, but the lock had certainly been a simpler one. It was a pretty cheap one, too, and it really didn't fit my impression of what a lock for a place you'd store something as important as ritual implements would look like.
Rika-san is a small girl, after all. The bars were heavy with rust, and they would have caused her a lot of trouble. So the mayor hired a craftsman and replaced the lock with a simple padlock, so she could open it with a key.
So, how does that mean it was bad luck?
Here's what I'm saying. The thieves couldn't get in with the old tight lock. The mayor and Rika-chan replaced it with a cheap lock, and the key on their own, so the thieves broke in. Apparently, that's how it's going down.
That explanation's a bit...
Letting that slide, certain members of the village delivered punishment upon the thieves who stole into the ritual storehouse, as well as the mayor and Rika-chan who changed the lock. At least, those are the whispers that seem to be going around. Mahabara-san, what do you think?
What do I think? I don't really know what you mean by certain members of the village.
Are you familiar with the three families? Representatives from each of them gave short addresses at the Watanagashi's festival opening ceremony. Did you see them?
I came partway through the festival, so I don't really...
The three families are the three oldest families in Hamanazawa. To give actual names, the Keiichi family, the Sonozaki family, and the Furude family. They each have quite the lineage, it seems. Long ago, it's said that everything in the village was decided by a council of the three families. The Keiichi family, Old Man Keiichi, meaning the mayor's family.
Wait, that's not him talking. The Sonozaki family was Mion's, so then the Furude family was Rika-chan's family then.
After the war, the Sonozaki family quickly expanded their influence. Practically speaking, after leading the fight against the construction during the dam conflict, they jumped to the top of the hierarchy in Hamanazawa. You see, though, in accordance with the old ways, they still decide important village matters only after consulting with the three families. That's why the leaders of the three families each have their own addresses at the start of the Watanagashi. In other words, the mayor, the old lady currently in charge of the Sonozaki family, and the last remaining member of the Furude family, Rika-chan.
I heard that the Sonozaki family was pretty high up there, so Rika-chan's family was just as old?
Well, as you're aware, she has no relatives after all. In reality, the Furude family holds pretty much no influence. However, it seems like people gravitate towards Rika-san on a personal level, and I hear that many of the villagers' elderly have blind faith in her.
It was certainly true that Rika-chan had an odd sort of charisma amongst the elderly. So, what are you telling me about all this three family stuff for? Owashi-san paused for emphasis, lighting another cigarette.
I've explained a lot, but I suppose it's still not enough.
I'm asking because I don't understand. Owashi-san gave me a dry, meaningful grin and blew out another big puff of smoke.
Members of the three families are disappearing one after another. That's what I'm talking about. I've read that it's based on some kind of old traditions inherent in Hamanazawa, but I don't know much beyond that.
I don't know anything about it either.
That's why I'm asking. The leaders of the Keiichi and Furude families have disappeared, So, maybe the leader of the Sonozuki family will disappear next. Well, that's just a random idea bouncing around in my head at the moment. Just kidding, really.
The leader of the Sonozaki family? Who is that?
The current leader is an old lady at their main house, but it wouldn't be incorrect to say that practically all the rights of leadership have been transferred to her granddaughter, Mion-san.
The visage of Mion giving prompt directions to the adults while searching for Rika-chan sprung back up into mind. Mion? She's gonna disappear? I hadn't even thought of that possibility. All of my hair stood on end. That's insane.
Nobody wants that, right?
Of course not. We can't allow that. Clamp. Iwashi-san grabbed my shoulders with both hands.
Then help us, Mahabara-san. If there's anything that you notice about Mion Sonozuki lately, please tell me.
I was going along with him. By the time I'd realized it was too late. Iwashi-san's brought his face in closer, almost close enough to ram into me, waiting for my next words. This pressure. I can't turn my eyes away from his. That moment I heard a beeping sound. It was from the driver's seat. He ignored it at first, but then it started to bother him, so he finally let go of me and leaned into the driver's seat.
Hello? Yep, loud and clear.
I was saved. Of course, it's not like I could escape through this opening.
I see. Yes. Alright. Let's head back then. Yes. Okay.
Apparently, he was being recalled. Now that I knew I'd be free, the tension in my body dissipated all at once.
It looks like I need to get going. We were just getting to the good part, too. That's too bad.
Iwashi-san flung open the door, exited, and walked around to the front of the driver's seat. He left the door open. Did that mean I could leave?
You really care about your friends, Mahabara-san.
Wait, no, it's not connecting the words.
Mahabara-san. An admirable trait for a kid to have in this day and age. I totally understand it feels like you'd be betraying them if you told the police anything. Mahabara-san. It's the middle of the night, so get a good night's sleep and think about it. Just a little bit of courage from you might end up being what saves many of your friends in the end.
Did he want to say that the sacrifices wouldn't stop with Rika-chan and Satoko?
You know this already, but every night since Watanagashi something has happened. In the past, the case only occurs once per year, but this time it's gone on for days. What a prosperous year this has been.
I don't think you can call that prosperous.
The night before last night, now today. There's no proof that something won't happen tomorrow night as well. It's our job to prevent such things before they happen, but for that we need your cooperation, Mahabara-san.
I looked out the open door to see none other than my own house right in front of me. It creeped me out that he knew my name and address, but I was too sleepy right now. I was too sleepy to care.
Well, you're probably tired. It's already 3 in the morning. Please, get yourself a good rest.
Yes, sir. I'll be going now. When I was about to get out of the truck, as if to deliver a parting blow, Iwashi-san said in a raised voice,
I'll be coming by every day until you feel like talking, alright? I don't believe forcing you to confess in an interrogation room is really in fashion these days.
I couldn't say anything in response, but me slamming the door shut probably served the same purpose. After lightly beeping the horn, Iwashi-san's truck drove off. I went to the front door without waving goodbye. The door was locked, but the chain wasn't up. I unlocked the door and entered. Then walked over to the staircase. That was where I lost consciousness. Ooh, lots of tips. Scrapbook, elderly, scrapbook, quest denied. Lots of tips. Gotta take a drink before I get to these tips. So Awashi-san seems a lot more menacing this time around. The Sonozaki family. The one to drastically expand its influence after the war was the Sonozaki family. The leader at the time was Oru Sonozaki, who still has that seat today. Oru Sonozaki has grown old, and today you can only catch a glimpse of who she was at the time. From what I've been told, however, she was a leader enrolled as the best in history, extolled. Having become so old, aside from going out for a few times a week for lessons, she spends her time at home in solitude and seems to leave most of the ceremonial affairs to her heir, Mion. There are different views onto why the successor was not her daughter, but her granddaughter, Mion, but it's rumored that it has to do with disownment of her daughter and son-in-law. Disownment. Interesting. That uninhibited granddaughter, Mion Sonozaki, still shows no sign of the dignity required of the next leader. However, she does have Sonozaki blood in her veins and is permitted the name of Demon. She still doubtlessly requires caution, and is probably hiding her fangs and claws as skillfully as the leaders of the past did. Yes, the postal worker hasn't seen anything either. The Sonozaki main house has their seal hanging from the mailbox so that anyone can stamp their mail or parcels with it and drop in.
That's rather careless of them. So, when was she last seen?
She was seen at the Watanagashi opening ceremony greetings. She apparently returned home right after that.
Well, she is pretty old. For what I heard, she goes out a few times a week to take lessons, right? Have you found anything out about that?
Every Monday she goes to the assembly hall to practice the Taishingoto, but she didn't seem to go this week.
Any calls to say that she wasn't going to be there? Has anyone confirmed it?
No, nobody. She apparently takes days off once in a while, though, so no one thought it was strange.
Tomorrow, why don't we pretend we're in the town hall and call around 10 o'clock? Please figure out whether she's home.
10 o'clock, got it. Ever since it started to seem more and more like ancient Haminazawa traditions had something to do with all of this, he'd been keeping a careful eye on the three families. At this point, the leader of the Keiichi family and the leader of the Furude family had disappeared. There was only one leader left, Oyu Sonozaki, the leader of the Sonozaki family. She was apparently a pretty old woman. Her dignity hasn't waned, but she still has only appeared before people rarely, so it was difficult to confirm where she was at any given time. The last leader, hadn't been seen since the day of the Watanagashi. Was she still alive and well within the Sonozaki main house, or had she? According to Mion Sonozaki, she had fallen ill and was sleeping it off.
I wonder if she's really sleeping. I'd like to take a look at her face and her pulse.
You can say that again. The two of them breathed out a big puff of cigarette smoke. Awashi-san, about the search warrants for the Sonozaki main house and the Furude shrine. Do you think we'll get them? Awashi didn't respond, exhaling another cloud of tobacco smoke, his surroundings now as foggy as his mind. The Hidden Demon. The inhabitants of Haminazawa believe that the blood of demons flows in their blood, and as such, the character for demon is treated as very sacred. For example, usage of the character in names is often apparently a right reserved only for the leaders of the Keiichi and Sonozaki families. Case in point, we can see it in the current Sonozaki family leader's name. Oryu is written with the character that. This, and only this, is proof that she is a legitimate leader of the Sonozaki family. In the same way, Mion Sonozaki, its successor, contains in her name with a big Mi being written as with me being written as that. It also goes for Oyuro's daughter and Mion's mother, Akane, who did not succeed her. It's known that before the disowning, Akane's name was actually written as blank, though it was changed afterwards to, and still reads as Akane. Incidentally, it's thought that the first character in the Mayor Keiichi's name originally meant demon, which can also be read as key. It should be said that the names using the character are limited only to the successors of the Sonozaki family. You can even find it in the last names of the three families. For example, the characters for Keiichi are likely split up a version of blank. If you write it in the reverse and top-bottom, as it clearly resembles the character. As for the Furude family, who have been in the Shinto priesthood for generations, the word for fortune teller can be written without interval characters as I think with the addition of the demon's horn, the tick on the top of the character becomes that is used in their name now. In the case of the Sonozaki family, where Sonozaki is written, I can't find any reference to the character, perhaps because it's already ingrained into their first names. They were the clan responsible for running the Watanagashi ceremony, so I think that instead they include the contents of that ceremony into their last name. The Zakei in Sonozaki is a conjunction of the word for slice, and the Sono, written as, probably contains the hidden meanings of human body, as it is a complicated mess, organs enclosed by four sides. I think, in other words, that Sonozaki comes from those who slice open the gut. That was kind of hard to read with all the kanji. I believe it's kanji in there, but you got the meaning. I'm back! I'm back. How'd it go? Did you find any clues? The officers shook their head in disappointment. Exhaustion was plainly showing on everyone's faces. That was only natural. None of them had gotten a wink of sleep since the day of Watanagashi. Chief, let the youngest of us take a nap and then switch them out. We've got a long stretch ahead of us after all. Let's not push ourselves too hard. Rest up so we can take it easy as we go. I've been telling them to sleep in shifts. Nobody actually seems willing to sleep, though. Could you tell them yourself? Fucking shit. Owashi said the first line. Regular dude said the second line. Oh my. You don't need to force yourselves. Kimiyo-kun. Please let everyone sleep in shifts starting with the youngest. Kiyomi-san, please do that. After the chief told him as well, Kimiyo-san left his seat. So, Chief, still no good on our request? It's just a rumor among the villagers in the first place, you know. It's going to be difficult without more concrete evidence. Even when that evidence might be tucked away in there. We need evidence that evidence is tucked away in there. Chief, don't start speaking in riddles to me now. We have witnessed that, say, 4 people, including the 2 who died, went into that forbidden ritual storehouse without permission. This is all reliable information. You might call it information, but they're really only rumors. They're not concrete evidence. Well, it's true we don't have any pictures of the 4 of them sneaking in with the cloth tied around their heads. Anyway, those 4 saw something inside the storehouse. Something important enough that they'd be erased. Important enough that they'd be erased? What would that be exactly? That's why I'm asking for a warrant to go looking in the first place. That seems like that was dialogue. Anything pointing out the Sonozaki's family's connections to violent organizations would be a major contender. Anything pointing out the Sonozaki family's connections to violent organizations would be a major contender. Like a pile of Tokarovs or a secret poppy production facility. The secret Sonozaki family fortune would also be pretty difficult to discard. Look, Owashi-san, I know how you feel. However, that storehouse is the sacred building belonging to the Furude Shrine, and we need to have proper consideration for the locals when dealing with it. I heard that there was an hour-long call made from Congressman Sonozaki to the big man. Chief, could he have nailed you back down?
Anyway, as long as we don't have suitable evidence, we won't get a search warrant for the storehouse.
Anyway, as long as we don't have suitable evidence, we won't get the search warrant for the storehouse. That goes for the Sonozaki main house too. Especially considering that the jurisdiction of both Section 4 and the Prefectural Police Crime Prevention Division, we need careful preparations first.
If you say we need preparations, then why don't you just let me talk with them directly? Shigi-chan is the head of Section 4, right? For crime prevention, it's Yamuri-san. They seemed like they'd be quicker to talk if I sat them down at a mahjong table.
Chief, you have a visitor. Pushing the employee who guided him right out of the way was an old man who looked like a Yakuza member, given his crested kimono and hakemaya. Did he not get enough over the phone? Ooh, hold on.
I am Congressman Sonozaki. I demand to know who is responsible for this. This instant.
Hello. I am Division Chief Tasukuji.
I don't need your name. I could have you demoted on a whim. You wouldn't even be enough. Bring out the one called Iwashi or whatever. He deserves punishment for requesting a search warrant on the sacred Furude Shrine.
I sincerely apologize. Iwashi-san is currently out of on investigation, and he's been difficult to contact. I'll take his place and hear you out. So, please, have a seat. The chief's eyes were telling me to get out of here. Perhaps I'll gratefully accept his offer. Maybe I'll go lay down in the nap room.
Listen here. The Furude Shrine spent 2,600 years under the imperial calendar and 22,500 more beyond that. It's sacred, a sanctuary that must never be defiled. The 800,000 gods Oshiro-sama and the spirits of our ancestors are enshrined there. The holy shrine protects Hamanazawa from when the sun comes up to when it sets, and from when the moon rises to when it falls. Who is the idiot who wanted to set foot in there? Besides, the right to religion is the most revered right of the people of this country in the Constitution. You dare to be so bold as to sully that using your own investigation's negligence as pretext? I will not allow it. Are you listening, you lying scum? I am angry now, so you're not getting off the hook that easily.
Just want to say, I'm surprised I maintained that voice. Which, I was going for a combination of Mion and, like, just gravel. Mion and gravel.
Kinda Satoko a little bit.
Oh, Jesus. My voice is dead. So after this, I'm going to go, like, take a rest and, get a drink. But this episode, both Rika and Satoko are gone. Like, I figured Rika would be gone, but the fact that Satoko is also gone is mildly surprising. And at the moment, I don't think Rena is going to go nuts and act against Keiichi. I think Rena is normal this time around. Like, she's just Rena. That's all she is. Because she hasn't honestly shown any signs of anything. Like, she's gotten serious, but like any person would get serious. Like, she can't be like ditzy cute Rena while there's talk of maybe our friends are disappearing. So she would get serious. I get that. Mion, on the other hand, is flip-flopping all over the place. And I honestly can't tell if she's the one behind it, or if she's trying to prevent it, but also going a little nuts. If I wanted to make a random prediction, Shion's the one behind it. I think Shion might be the one making people disappear. Because we haven't seen her in several episodes. She's called us on the phone, but we haven't seen her in a while. But that's a random prediction. I don't know how much water or weight that one holds. It would be a decent twist. Like, oh gosh, it was actually Shion doing it all the entire time. Acting under the curse's influence, I guess. Taking out the three families, disrupting the entire power balance of Hamanazawa. That could work as a twist. I have a strong feeling that when we finally find Satoko and Rika-chan, they are either going to be dead or in the process of being killed. Which is slightly depressing, because I like both of those characters. Yeah, but at the moment, I don't feel I don't feel Rena is crazy Rena from Onikakushi. I think she's normal Rena dealing with this situation. I think she's the most normal out of everyone so far. Like, she has been on the periphery of all of this. She has no idea what's going on, really. She's just hearing, like, her friends are starting to disappear. Keiichi's acting weird. I think she has some thoughts about Mion, even though she wants to feel that Mion's being normal. Even though Keiichi definitely sees Mion's not being normal. I'm unsure where it's going to go from here, but I feel like a twist, like a real big twist, is going to be coming up soon. Maybe the next episode after that. I gotta be nearing the end. Like, this is chapter 10. Onikakushi was only 12, but this is chapter 10, and it feels like we're nearing some kind of conclusion, but there's so many loose ends. Like, there's so many threads. Like, the storehouse. Like, who's punishing for the storehouse? What's up with Shion? What's up with Mion? Where are Rika and Satoko? Where's the mayor? Is this the curse, or is someone actively killing people? Like, we got all this backstory on the whole Sonozaki Yakuza thing, but I would not be surprised if it turns out that the actual person doing all the real Yakuza shit was Shion, not Mion. Because they are laying it on very, very heavy. It's like, oh yeah, the Sonozaki stuff with the Yakuza, and Mion's gonna be the next head. Mion's definitely got this whole, like, evil organization thing shit going on. They're laying it on very heavy. Distrust Mion. Distrust Mion. Distrust Mion. But I think just like the twist where Shion was actually real and is kind of manipulative, I think that Shion is probably going to be the actual bad guy, quote unquote, of this. I wouldn't be surprised if it turns out to be Shion. Because to me, it feels like they're piling it way too hard on Mion. And especially in this episode, Mion is taking charge and actively looking for these people. If she was behind it, or related to it in any way of, like, she ordered them to be disappeared, why would she... She literally woke up the entire town 2 nights in a row to find these people. If she was behind it, even if, like, a crazy curse was screwing with her mind and making her do it, like it was some kind of, like, mind control curse thing, even if that was happening, why would they put so much emphasis on... Why would she be directly behind those finding search efforts for this stuff? So it feels like they're dogpiling Mion. It's like, oh, Mion's bad, distrust Mion. Oh, Mion's having this creepy, weird freak-out thing. distrust Mion, distrust Mion. I think they're laying it on way too thick. And that's why I think that it's the flip side. That Shion, who is also in the opposite way, they've laid on kind of thick that Shion was trust Shion. Shion's in the same boat as you. Yada 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 yada. Twist. Shion is actually the bad one killing everybody. Oh god, oh what the fuck? You know. But that's my crazy prediction. If it turns out to be true, sweet. If it doesn't turn out to be true, sweet. Then I couldn't have called it either way. But that's my thought. And I'm surprised I'm still talking after that voice I did. So I'm going to personally take a break for a little while. You guys will see you all next time for the next chapter of Higurashi When They Cry, Watanagashi. See you all next time.
It has to be. 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 It has to be.